I don't know if this episode of House of the Dragon, the third episode, is better than last week's, or if I was just in a really bad mood last week. I don't think I'd had a particularly bad day when I watched that last one and shot that review. I did have an extremely busy and tiring day, though. And I think it might have been in my best interest to have bumped that review a day rather than to make myself do effectively another hour and a half of work to watch that, shoot it, and then edit it. I think that was a mistake. Because I'm kind of hard pressed to nail down too many specifics as to what this episode's doing that the other one didn't also do, or what the last one did that this one isn't doing, that would explain or justify why I felt like the previous one was such an interminable slog. Not that I'm gonna go back and rewatch the second episode. I still remember it well enough, so like, I don't think I gain anything by that experience. But it's been a while since I've looked back at a review and gone, I think that was just a bad day. Not necessarily like a bad day in the abstract, but a bad day for me to film that. I think that happened last time though, because this is fine. It's fine. I did notice that they went out of their way to like make up for their gratuitous nudity quota that they've been skimping on so far this season. Not sure I needed that, but there it is anyway. And it's not like I have a problem with that stuff. Like, if you know anything about my activities outside of this particular site, then you know I don't have a problem with that. But boy, was it more gratuitous and more unnecessary than is even standard for this show. Anyways, this is in a lot of ways dealing with continued fallout of stuff that's already happened. In this case, a lot of it dealing with the immediate fallout of the attempt on Rhaenyra's life. I think I will say that storyline, I'd like the twin storyline, feels like a waste. I'm tempted to say that that's one of the reasons I didn't really like the previous episode, except I don't even think I singled that out in that review. But looking back on it, that just felt like such a waste. Like, as I was watching the recap and they reestablished that, I immediately thought, you know what would have been so much cooler? If the one of them died and the one that was left will serve Rhaenyra, but like, we're not sure, is that the one who was originally serving her, or did he snap and decide, I can't do this, given what they asked me to do after he killed his brother? Like, I think that would have been so much more interesting than like, oh, they're both dead. Okay. Then why were they here anyways? Let's close that story 2 episodes in on characters that you didn't really fully sell me on, but beyond the gimmick that they're twins. Anyways, that was last episode. I need to move past that. Except it's somewhat relevant because like we're coming off the results of that. We've got Daemon going to try and recruit some folks through intimidation tactics and, you know, having a dragon handy. And that scene had some good tension in it. That was solid. It's interesting watching, you know, basically everybody is able to manipulate Aegon. If people know how to talk to them, which unfortunately Otto Hightower did not. He pushed his luck and got fired for it. But like, so many people really know how to get him to do what they want. And unfortunately, he's so easily manipulated. It means that lots of people aren't getting what they want because it seems to come down to who was the most recent person to talk to him. Because that person is the one who's going to get what they want most likely, assuming that they know how to communicate with him. So yeah, it's kind of interesting watching that bounce back and forth. It's certainly a contrast to say Joffrey from, you know, the main series, where Joffrey was somebody that a number of characters thought they would control, but none of them could. Whereas Aegon is a character that has this sense of himself, of a strong leader, and like, dude, you've got no spine. Like, and he doesn't even know it. That's kind of the tragedy of it. Actually, tragedy is a good word for a lot of what's going on in this episode. The The scene between Rhaenyra and Alicent. This is towards the end now. I'm not going to go over the plot in this. I assume you've seen the episode already. Spoilers, I guess. The scene at the end with the two of them communicating with each other, that felt like a chance to emphasize the tragedy of all this. That ultimately this is all going south because Alicent did not understand what her husband meant when he named Aegon. That he wasn't referring to, this little dingbat who's now king, but he was referring to Aegon the Conqueror and Aegon's dream and A Song of Ice and Fire. And she doesn't know. She doesn't have the context for what it was he said. But her understanding of it led to this. And when I say tragedy, the tragedy is that Rhaenyra, if she doesn't fully get it already, she's on the verge. She's now got the information. She's probably going to have 2 and 2 fully put together by next episode. I assume she already does have that. But, who's going to believe her? I mean, more accurately, who's going to believe her that it would help? Because she's now in the exact position that Alicent was. Because Alicent was in a position where everyone just had to take her word that the king named Aegon right before he died. And now, Rhaenyra has to get people to take her word that this is what he actually meant when it's based off stuff that he didn't tell people besides her. So it's kind of interesting. And I like that there's sort of not a reestablishment, but a re-emphasis of the way in which they are similar. I like that, God, I forget the name of a lot of the characters in this, but the queen who never was, pointing out to Rhaenyra, you did not have control over the killing of that child, but people will blame you, just like you blame Alicent for what happened to your child, and sort of bringing that emphasis. And I really like the clash of interests, and it even gets singled out and highlighted here that there's people who understand the danger of the situation they're in and are doing everything they can think of to not have this come to full-blown war. And then you have the people who not only want it, but are treating it as if they are already at war. And the people who do not want that to happen are trying so hard. And it's not going to work. I assume. I haven't read the source material. Don't tell me. But that's what I assume, because that's what makes this whole thing tragic. It's not only unnecessary, but there's so many people trying so hard to stop it, and they won't. I think I was just in a better headspace watching this one. So I feel a little bit better about continuing the season. That said, it's still not really blowing me away. This show is mid-tier Game of Thrones. It's not A tier, but it's not final season. It's mid-tier. It's okay, yeah, I'll stick with this. So my enthusiasm is still going to be somewhat limited, just because there's only so excited I'm going to get about this, i.e. not especially. But I'm still, I feel very reassured that not only did I like this episode better, but I actually can't distinguish a whole lot of individual differences between this and the previous episode. So I think the issue last time was just me. Regardless, House of the Dragon, episode 3, I think I spent more time talking about the fact that I was in a bad headspace to review the previous episode. Whatever. This isn't a show that I have deep analytical dissecting thoughts on. I just don't. But I like it enough that I like to talk about it. Whatever your thoughts are, drop something down in the comments. Let's talk about it. Patreon pays the bills, enables me to do this as my living. Even if you can't help me out that way, like, share, subscribe. Those all help me out. Don't worry too much about it, though. Take a relaxed attitude around here so you can come on back next time you need a break. And now to thank my highest supporting patrons: Robin Moore, Zubin Lutfula, Goddess Elida, Oliver B., Melissa Pedersen, Tarak, the thing that goes joint in the anime, Jean Foray, Ulrich Bogdan, Loki Eris, Linda Walters, Jen, Auntie Kate 808, Becky Sparks, Renabulax the Poodle, Tracy Scrabbit, Angry Casperol, Dave Hall, Quite Bearish, Rosalind Bennett, Toku Bluhuvian, Papa Rabajago, and Mara G. If you'd like to hear your name in the credits, or even just see them, there are rewards on the Patreon, so maybe check those out.